Y'all ready for history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite, thanks to RØDE microphones.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
Introducing Robert Marshall from Source Elements and Someone Audio Post, Chicago. Darren Robbo Robertson from Voodoo Radio Imaging, Sydney. Tech to the VO stars, George the Tech Whittam from LA. And me, Andrew Peters, voiceover talent and home studio guy.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
Welcome to another Pro Audio Suite. Don't forget, you can find us on Patreon if you want to help us out with a bit of cash. What's the address, Robbo?
The address is patreon.com/Pro Audio Suite.
Lovely. This episode, we're just going to do a quick review on a couple of Austrian audio bits and pieces of gear that arrived on my doorstep the other day. I know, George, have you still got your HI-X65s out of interest?
I do. Yep.
Excellent. Well, I grabbed a pair of the HI-X65s, which are the open back version. And,
are they totally open, like very much, or are they like semi-open?
Well, they say open back, so I wouldn't know, but I don't know. I've got them on now, so I don't know whether there's much bleed.
Mm-hmm. What was your immediate first impression, like right out of the box? No breaking in, nothing. Just what did you think?
Well, it was interesting because I plugged them in and I noticed immediately the difference in sound between the 55s and 65s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know whether I'd seen too many reviews of these and that sort of was clouding my... could have done.
Yeah.
But I was just going from one to the other and I could hear there was a big difference. I mean, the close back, and I think it's because, and you'd know technically if I'm right or just clutching at straws here, but I think it's because the close back can tend to be a bit boxy, and so you get that sort of more MIDI kind of build up.
Okay.
Where the open backs don't do that, and I can hear the difference is now whether the mids are actually the same, but because there's more top end in the 65s, I don't know, but there's certainly much cleaner in the top end, like really super clean.
Oh.
To me, I really like these. I think they're if I could only have one pair, I would probably go the 65s.
That's curious to me. I mean, based on just, describing the differences, I'm already liking them more because I think that was the one thing I wasn't that happy with was, to me, the mid-range there was some kind of a resonance almost. There was something that made it stick out that was too present for my ears and was too different from what I was accustomed to. And if the 65s have a different mid-high-end kind of tonal balance, that could work for me.
Yeah.
For sure. I'd have to try them.
I mean, for me, when I was talking to Robbo about them the other day, I can see, where both have got great value. I mean, if I have the close back, that would be something I would use in the booth if you're doing a session down the line, because they actually do seal really well. But if you're sort of editing and whatever, and you want to get really deep into the edit, then the open backs are perfect for that kind of work. So,
and they both have the same kind of really nice, super soft, deep ear cups.
Yeah.
That's what really stands out. The ear cups on these things are
so good, and they seal beautifully, and they're very comfortable. I mean, you can wear them for hours.
It's funny you said that. So I'm a little bit of a headphone nut, and I heard about these vintage headphones that I actually bought, which sounds wacky.
Oh, really?
Why would you buy vintage?
Yes.
But I have these vintage Audio Technicas, and I bought them because their drivers are a totally different technology. They're what they call orthophonic, or actually really known as magnaplanar.
Oh, yeah.
So they use a totally different driver technology. And I've always wanted to get a pair of magnaplanar headphones. They're generally quite expensive. And I just heard interesting things. So these popped up on my eBay radar, and I grabbed them. And they do sound quite remarkably good, but they're horrendously uncomfortable. I don't know what it is between bicycles, headphones, everything back in the older days. They just did not know how to make things comfortable. It wasn't a priority, or I don't know what it was, but I can't wear them for more than an hour. My ears are screaming. It's just too... So, these deep, beautiful, comfortable ear pads is just everything.
But it's funny with things like that. The AKG 141s, which have been around for decades. I mean, my oldest pair...
I think I have a pair of those. Do they have a silver outer cup?
Or gold, yeah. Silver
I have
with
the
really
original
old
ones with the silver ones, yeah.
I did have a pair of those, but someone borrowed them permanently. But the ones I've got left, I got in 1980, end of 1980, and they're still going strong. And they're very comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's because the pressure on the ears is a big part of it. The Audio-Technicas have a very strong steel headband. It's like a spring, right? It's like a steel spring. And they're just very, very snug. Like they really create a very tight seal. And I guess that was part of how they sound, because they seal off so tightly. But what a sacrifice in comfort. I'm curious if I was to just literally kink the headband, force it out. I also had the idea of like putting a foam underneath each, so it's literally resting against my temples, instead of my ears. To see if that would help. But just comfort is crucial, and they've gotten a lot better at that with these new headphones.
Well, it used to be in the old days, it was either too tight and was really painful to wear, or they just kept falling off.
Exactly.
You'd lean forward and the headphones would drop off.
Yeah. These Audio-Technicas are called the ATH2 for people who are saying, what are they? Yeah. ATH2, that gives you an idea how old they are. They are the former. They're vice grips on your head. So...
Well, the other thing from Austrian Audio that came in the box was the...
Two things came in the box?
Two things came in the box. The OC18.
Yeah, the one pattern, the cardioid.
Yeah, which is what I'm using now. And I must actually admit that I'm such a dickhead because I've been going on about figure eight is really cool. You got to go figure eight. It sounds fantastic. So I lined the 18 up with the 818, which was actually is still in figure eight.
Mm-hmm.
And I put them together. It was like, holy crap, they sound so different. I thought these things were supposed to be matched. And then I went, oh, hang on a minute, it's in figure eight. So I flicked it off figure eight. And you can't tell the difference there because I sent the file to Robbo, and I think you felt the same. You couldn't really pick it.
There was a slight drop in perceived volume in one of them, but that was about
because that was a different preamp.
Tiny, and we figured that was the preamp. That's right. So sound wise, they were mirror image.
And I take it back. Don't go figure eight. It does sound really awful in comparison with just cardioid, as it turns out.
Well, I have to say that
listen to the Pro Audio Suite for precise information.
Well, when you have a good room like Andrew does, cardioid is probably your primary choice. I mean, it's usually going to sound. When you have a less than good room, like a very small, narrow closet-sized booth, that's where the figure eight really shines. Yeah, it really, really helps. But it's a little, I don't know, artificial sounding, I guess.
It was almost like I was so on the mic when I was in figure eight. Yeah,
it has more presence. It has more proximity effect. So if you use the same exact placement, which you tend to, you would do that because you're used to it. You're like, you have a spot where you put the mic. In figure eight, it would not sound as clear. It would sound more, almost like going to closed headphones.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
More like boomy or low end heavy, not as clear, much clarity, right? And then when you went to cardioid, muddy. That's the word we like to use.
Yes.
And then went to the cardioid, you lost that muddiness. You went back to that more natural sound. So I think a lot of it is to do with the placement as well. Yeah. And you combine that into all those things. But it's good to hear that they're so incredibly similar. I mean, they theoretically should be, for all intents and purposes, identical. But they can't. I don't know if they can be because the OC818 has multiple patterns, so it has two capsules. And the 18 has one capsule, right?
Yeah, correct.
Is that how it is? Okay.
Yeah.
But would you still recommend? Does it have a high pass filter switch on it, or is that?
It does.
Okay. See, that to me is an important feature for a lot of voiceovers.
So it's got a high pass and a pad, 3-stage pad. So 10, -10, -20. In fact, it was funny because I had a guy come in here. He had to do a session down the line, and he's an ex-football player and a football commentator. So you're probably getting the vibe of what sort of delivery he was about to give us.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to the engineer in Melbourne before the session and before he got here, and he said, look, it's going to be pretty full on. And I said, well, do you want me to put a pad on? And he said, is there a pad on the mic? I went, yeah, I'll put -10, which I did. and I was running it through the LA610, which is the combination I'm using right now, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
I was riding the levels. It was so freaking loud. So -10 pad on the mic. I was lucky. I was actually under 3, about 2.5 on the gain knob on the LA610.
Wow.
That was it was like a jet fighter plane in the booth. It was just, Christ knows what sort of dB he was hitting.
Look out!
Yeah.
It was.
Well, the pad is something that most actors don't really need if they're doing spoken word, not announcer, not animation. But I have found that the pad can be really useful for folks who are recording themselves in their own booth and they don't have their preamp handy, or it's just annoying to adjust it because it's not marked. Like a lot of people have like a Scarlett or something, Focusrite Scarlett, and there's very little to tell you where the knob is set. It's really hard to see, So it's hard to repeat your setting. So I've been telling folks, look, if you're doing set your gain so that when the pad is off, it's perfect for spoken word, narration, commercial, conversational. And now when you have to punch it doing a game or character, click on the pad and then you have a repeatable setting. Just flick that on for the game, flick it off for everything else, and you get consistency.
What about this though? If you had a room that wasn't particularly good, so if you really want to work as close to the mic as you can to be the dominant sound that's entering the microphone, I would imagine. So would you use a -10 dB pad and then work right on the mic if your room wasn't too good?
Most microphone sensitivity is you're not likely going to clip the mic itself, even in close proximity, unless you're really getting into it. I think your typical condenser mic can probably handle like 120 decibels or something like that. I don't know the spec. I'd have to look it up. But as long as you're not clipping the mic itself and you're getting crunchiness on the mic, you don't need the pad. But a lot of people have the reverse issue where they're trying to get more gain because they have a lower quality interface or a low gain preamp. They have something that doesn't have a lot of gain. So for most folks, normally getting less gain isn't their issue. It's getting more gain when they need it is the issue. But so it just depends on your situation. But if you've got a really hot preamp that has a really large amount of input gain and, you're having trouble getting that sweet spot, then a pad can be handy. Just at the end of the day, whatever sounds the best, whatever sounds good is good. So you might want to compare 10 dB more gain with a pad versus 10 dB less gain without the pad. And then that thing has a 2-level pad. It has a -10 and a -20. So probably pretty unusual you would go to -20 unless you are really belting. Like if you're doing drill sergeant, dying creature, sounds, maybe it wouldn't be all that wrong. I mean, 20 decibels is a big difference, but people get incredibly loud on those games. It's not like you're acting into a void like an audiobook, and it's not like you're constraining yourself to a certain dynamic range. In games that you really, when they say sound like you're dying, they want you to sound like you're dying.
Yes, exactly.
They want authenticity.
I'd be crying if it was me. That's probably not the kind of dying they want.
So the difference in cost between those two mics is not like twice as much for the multi-pattern. So would you say the 18 is probably what most people would really ever need in a voiceover studio?
Absolutely. I think if you had that, what do they sell for in the States? I think they're
I think it's like 600 or 700 for the cardioid, and then
1,000 for the
1,000 or 1,100 in the States for the.
Yeah, I go the 18, OC18.
Yeah.
For under $700. I mean, I think it's a bargain, really.
You want the matching pair, don't you?
Well, of course.
I'll tell you off air.
Well, if you want to be able to do a mid-side pair, you want to be able to have the cardioid for the middle channel and the 18 for the side channel, the figure 8, and then you get that mid-side stereo miking technique. Then you can really have some fun.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm having fun now. So anyway, that's the Austrian audio for you.
So did they send you some stickers for your windows as well, since you've all Austrian audio kitted out now?
They've actually sign-written my car.
But those open cans, I would definitely not recommend them for remote, like what we're doing now, because they definitely splash back quite a bit of,
Oh, you hearing it?
slap back. Yeah. They're not the worst we've heard, but we definitely hear a slap back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's enough to be distracting.
I should turn them down. They are quite loud.
But I don't think they're the most open I've ever heard either. I don't think they're quite as open as some of the other. Like there's some Sennheisers or Barodynamics that are the 990s or something, and they're super open. Like,
Yeah.
if you're in the same room, it's like you can hear everything.
Oh, so they're like a
Coming out of
speaker
those
almost.
It's just a speaker, yeah. It's just a speaker hanging in front of your ear with a pad. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite recorded using RØDE NTG5s and Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Voodoo Radio Imaging. With tech support from George the Tech Witter. Help us share the show with more people and get your hands on exclusive content by contributing to our Patreon page. See patreon.com/Pro Audio Suite. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.